you two travel all over with the I Am Water Foundation. Are these facts and statistics we're speaking about publicly known? Do you find a lot of people don't really understand what's going on with sharks in our oceans?
Absolutely. I think that there's still a very large public perception that the ocean is fine, that it's so big that it's not in any way threatened. You know, I think when we look at how big a percentage of our planet is ocean, we think to ourselves, you know, we need to protect these little pockets of rainforests and all these little terrestrial ecosystems, but the ocean is so large that we can't possibly impact on it. Unfortunately, that's completely wrong, and there are very few protected places in the ocean, much less than on land. And the perception remains that the ocean's fine. So in general, we find that a lot of the work we do is education and awareness raising around the challenges in the ocean. And, you know, it feels as if there's a group of people that know and care and know quite a lot, and then a very, very large majority who doesn't know. And I'm the kind of optimist that believes that once they know, they will care. So that's why we're so active with trying to raise the awareness.
And I think we also know a lot of people who actually know the facts, but then they still feel like, okay, that's great, but what can I do? Or I still feel like, yeah, that's a big number, but the ocean, it's huge. So part of the challenge for us is helping people really connect with those numbers and realize, look, you're a big influencer on the ocean ecosystem, and like you're a part of that ecosystem. So it's not like it's separate from you, but you're actually connected to it. So we really want to help people understand what the facts are and then help them feel a little bit more connected. So that's why in the work that we do with Water, we really try to get people in the water and show them the ecosystem so they can experience it and feel that connection, so that you know, they want to make those little lifestyle changes that can make a difference.
Now, we've spoken about what you do with the I Am Water Foundation before, but just remind us about how you educate the communities you go to about what actually is going on in the ocean.
Yeah, so I Am Water works a lot with education of underprivileged youth and children in coastal communities, and we do that through getting them in the water. There's a very large disconnect between people and oceans, and interestingly, a lot of coastal communities. So we have projects here in South Africa, in Mozambique, in Bermuda. We're launching in the Maldives and Ecuador this year, and in the US. And it's all about getting kids snorkeling and teaching them the basics of swimming and snorkeling so they can actually open their eyes underwater and have that sense of wonder about what is in the ocean. And through this, we connect them with the ocean and the ocean issues, and we raise little ocean guardians who will make the right choices in their lives.
Tell me about the first time those children see underwater and see those fish in those bright colors.
It's unbelievable. It's so much fun. It really is a kick.
Yeah, it's fun to see the transition, because some of them come in and they're a little bit timid of the water, and so you slowly introduce them to it. But then once they put their face in, they can see the fish, they can see the kelp, like they're excited. A lot of times they say, "Oh, it feels like I'm flying." This is, and you can see that transition. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the most common misconceptions you've heard in these coastal towns that people have regarding the water that actually is just on their doorstep if they're living in coastal towns?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things is that the ocean is considered a place of danger and a place of death, you know, and that everybody has somebody in their family who's died, you know, whether it's from drowning or, you know, some accident at sea. So it's definitely overcoming the fear that's been passed down through generations. And then the next one is really, you know, we have quite a big project in Bermuda that's actually running right now. We have some instructors in Bermuda, and, you know, the girls there are like, you know, I don't know if I want to go snorkeling. What if there's too many sharks? And we go out and we've worked there now this is our 3rd year, and we haven't seen a single shark. They have no idea that all the sharks in their waters have been killed. So you know, a lot of kids think that as soon as I get in the water, there's just going to be sharks and animals because, you know, so kids are hopeful that way, and it's almost like educating them in remaining optimistic, but understanding that the generations before them have made some crazy decisions. So that's quite an interesting one that I didn't expect until I encountered it, that it was actually about tempering their expectations on the animals they were going to see sometimes.
Now, coming back to the sharks, what can we do to change it seems hard actually, because I think the biggest problem that our sharks face is a cultural belief, and that's not something that's easily changed. So how do we move forward? It seems like we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first thing with any type of fish that's in the ocean, one thing that we can all do is, like we mentioned earlier, figure out which type of fish it is that you're eating.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very simple step that everybody can take at a very local base level. And when you go to a restaurant, figure out what fish it is that you're ordering, where it came from, and whether that's a threatened species or whether that fishery is actually doing well. I think that's a big thing that we can do from the beginning, because as you'll find out, there's more types of sharks than just great whites. There's more types of sharks that are much smaller and that sometimes do end up on your plate without you knowing it. So that's one thing that we can do.
And then definitely also, I think, being part of perception change. You know, everybody who's had the realization that sharks are more than mindless killers can be part of that perception change, whether it's adults speaking to their kids. I mean, kids are naturally fascinated by sharks. They love them, you know, and then to keep that as a positive experience of the animal and not allow it to grow into this Jaws hysteria that, you know, our generation and those older than us have grown up with. I think that's really important. And then educating oneself about one's local sharks. You know, here in South Africa, we often talk about our beaches with our shark problems. I'd like to say we have, you know, it's a privilege to have a shark problem, to actually have so many sharks close to our coastline that we have to discuss how to manage the human interaction with them. And that's a privilege. We have a healthy ecosystem. There's so few places in the world that still have that. So supporting local initiatives like the Shark Spotters, who are doing something very, very, very unusual in having zero impact on the shark population and still keeping bathers safe. Educating ourselves about what the options could be to shark nets in KwaZulu-Natal, for example, which there are options, and we need to support the Natal Shark Sports to make the right decisions about the fact that we still have gill nets on our beaches. So I think it's about educating ourselves around the issues of the sharks in our waters as well.